morning, everyone. And thank you, Juan. Thank you all who maybe recognize that song. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign, where our mission is to build community, seek inspiration, inspire justice, and find peace. My name is Reverend Beth Monholland. My pronouns are she, hers, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the lead minister to this congregation. Here in our building on Green Street, we reside on the ancestral lands of many nations who hunted and traveled and called this place home. Notably, the Confederation of Illinois tribes who lived here before white settlers came included the Peoria, Cahokia, Kaskaskia, and Michigamme. These peoples and others who followed them are still striving for sovereignty and dignity, and while we know that a land acknowledgement is neither relationship nor reparations, we trust that it is a step in the process to creating those things, and we believe that grappling with our history with honesty and care calls us into deeper spiritual alignment. And so this morning, no matter who our ancestors are, we collectively honor everyone who came before us and made this moment possible. With that, I would like to welcome us all fully, both in person and virtually, into this sacred space and time together. And I especially welcome any guests who are visiting with us today. We invite you to fill out a visitor card so that we can stay connected with you. And everyone, guests and longtime members, are invited for kinship and conversation right after the service in the fellowship hall, just across the hall. And while we are a congregation of many ages and bodies and needs, so we know that there are many wiggles and sounds and potential distractions that people of all ages, especially maybe our young ones, might make. We welcome all of that into this space. And while young people and kids are actually invited to stay for the entirety of this service, we do have a time of faith formation, and kids and youth are invited to go down into their classrooms immediately following the time for all ages, which is noted in the order of service. And because we are still forever, my beloveds, in endemic times, and there's lots of bugs floating around this time of year, please honor people's care and needs to perhaps remain distant. There are lanyards available if you didn't see right in the entryway, and if someone has on a yellow or red lanyard, please just respect their boundaries and maybe instead of trying to hug them, just wave from a distance. And if for any reason, like I am today, because I'm fighting a cold, you need to wear a mask, that is of course welcome here with the care with which it is intended. And so with all of that, I'd like us to formally begin our service as Unitarian Universalists across the country do by lighting our chalice, which is a symbol of our shared living faith tradition and reminds us of the spark of life that connects us to all beings. I've asked Sandy to come forward and light our chalice while we collectively say the chalice lighting words found in your order of service and on the screen. We kindle this flame as a symbolic connection to our ancestors who bravely shared their light in days past, to all of our kin near and far who hold on tightly to hope in this moment, and to the people who will follow us in love in the moments yet to come. Before we have our opening hymn this morning, I would like to actually light just a few more flames. My heart has been so heavy this week, and perhaps yours has too. Perhaps your heart has been heavy for a long time. But this week, on Thursday morning, when I woke up and heard that tanks were rolling into Gaza again, when I heard about the mass shooting in Maine, And when I know that both of those things, the ongoing gun violence in America and the genocidal actions in Palestine, are upheld by our government, oh my beloveds, it was very hard this week to want to get up and be a minister. And at the same time, I feel so deeply this calling to be in love and relationship with others. And so this morning, just before we sing, I've put out 3 candles, and one is for the people of Gaza, thousands of whom have died since October 7th. For the wars raging all over this world, there are 56 active conflicts right now, and for the seemingly endless gun violence right here on our own shores. I invite you into some silence and to feel whatever you need to feel as I light those candles, and then we will sing our opening song, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple."
Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight till our turning we come round right.
For those who are longtime members, you'll notice we're doing joys and sorrows just a little bit differently today. And so in this moment, I want to acknowledge all of the joys and sorrows that we are all always carrying, and that when we gather each Sunday, we of course naturally bring into this space. And there will be a time later in the service where we will share our spoken joys and sorrows. And so if you have a joy or sorrow you especially want lifted up today, I invite you to fill out a card. You'll find them in the pews on the table, and our ushers can bring those to you. You can also always email your joy and sorrow to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. In this moment, though, what I would like us to do is to participate in our embodied ritual as we feel called to do so. It is, of course, by invitation only, beloveds. But we will sing our song, "May the Longtime Sun." And while we do that, I would invite each of you to just come forward and take a stone from our altar for a sorrow or a petal for a joy and place it into the water. And I'm also going to invite you this morning, if you need to hold on to a stone. If things feel particularly heavy and you feel like you can't quite let it go today, then this morning I'm going to invite you with love and tenderness to just hold it and to know that we are also holding that with you. And so we will sing.
Oh,
Hello. My name is Reverend Sally Fritchie. I am the Associate Minister of this congregation. Thank you. And this is the time in our service when we usually tell a story or do an activity that is meant to be a little more interactive or engaging for folks of different ages, stages, and learning styles. And since today's service is called Magic and Miracles, we're going to be telling a miracle story. And it's going to involve a little bit of Halloween candy. So if anyone is interested in coming up a little closer to the pulpit at this point, you are invited to come forward and help me with this story. You can come up, you can sit in the front pew next to Reverend Beth. You can sit up here on the steps if you want. You can stand. So this is a story. All right. This is a story that comes from the Christian Bible. So does anyone know what a miracle is? Do you have an idea? Yeah?
It's like a miracle is when something amazing happens and you don't see it coming.
Something amazing happens and you don't see it coming. That's a good one. So there's official rules for what counts as a miracle, but they're pretty vague. It's about, essentially something extraordinary happening that can only be attributed to divine power. But we're going to be talking about miracles today that are maybe a little more ordinary. And what we're going to define as a miracle is something unexpected that happens that might change your mind about something. So when you believe that there's no hope, when you believe that something is gone forever, a miracle can show you that those things aren't actually true and you might be wrong about that. So this is a story that comes from the Christian Bible, and the main character of the Christian Bible is Jesus. This is a story about him. There's a lot of miracle stories about Jesus in the Bible. And this is one where he had just been preaching for a long, long time to thousands of people, and he realized, I forgot to feed all these people. And at the time, he didn't have any food with him, so he asked, does anyone have any food? And someone came up and said, we have just a handful of Tootsie Rolls. No, they didn't say Tootsie Rolls. They said loaves and fishes. Loaves of bread and fishes to eat. But they only had a very small number, and there were thousands of people. That's like, imagine if thousands of people trick-or-treated at your house, and this is what you had. You'd be in trouble, right? You'd be in trouble because you would eat the Tootsie Roll, and then you'd have nothing. But this is where the miracle comes in. So Jesus was like, I'm not worried. And he took the single Tootsie Roll, and he had some magic words. And what do you think the magic words were? All right, we have a guess of more Tootsie Rolls. Yeah?
May more Tootsie Rolls come and everybody shall eat candy for the rest of their life.
May more Tootsie Rolls come and everyone shall eat candy for the rest of their life. That's a good one. Reverend Beth guessed abracadabra. Those are good magic words, powerful magic words. But the powerful magic words in this story were thank you. He said grace over the small amount of food that he had and said, we are grateful for what we do have. We are grateful for what we do have. And he broke the bread. I don't know what he did with the fishes. He didn't break them. He broke the bread and started handing it out. And he handed it to his followers and said, give this to the next person. And they just kept handing and handing and handing out to the crowd until everyone had their fill and there were baskets of leftovers. And that was the miracle of the loaves and fishes. So we're going to do a miracle of Tootsie Rolls. Who wants to help me? All right. What we need is for someone to hold on to this Tootsie Roll safe in their hands. And then everyone else, can you put a hand on Theo's shoulder or on his elbow? We're going to close our eyes. And we're going to channel the magic words from the story, which are, we are grateful for what we do have. We are grateful for the Tootsie Roll. You ready? All right. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's a miracle. There's Tootsie Rolls raining from the sky. Can you run back and go find your Tootsie Rolls? If my helpers up here want Tootsie Rolls, we do have some for you. Thank you all for helping me perform a miracle of Tootsie Rolls here in this sanctuary today. Our kids and teachers are invited to head downstairs to their classrooms now. You can take your Tootsie Roll with you.
I do not know how I can follow Tootsie Rolls. You all. It's a miracle. Just, I'm putting those in my pocket for later. Thank you, Sally. Thank you to all our helpers. And thank you to everyone for all the ways you contribute to this community. One key part of our mission is that we are here to build community together. And in that vein, we have many spiritually engaging opportunities. I started to say, and fun, but spirituality is fun. I'm a minister nerd. And there are lots of opportunities to connect within and beyond these walls. Be sure you read your e-news each week for all of those. There are a few announcements on the back of your order of service, but there is something happening today, and so I want to highlight it for you this afternoon from 4 to 6 right here in our own church building. Our reproductive justice team is co-sponsoring a screening of a film titled Connie Cook, a documentary of a visionary in the quest for women's rights. So if you're free this afternoon from 4 to 6, the film is about an hour long, and then there will be an engaging discussion afterwards. Everyone is invited. The mission of our congregation and all of those many programs we have is made possible through the shared time, talents, and the financial generosity of our members and friends. And we know that our work within this congregation is strengthened by our connections to the wider community. So while we do welcome gifts to this congregation, we also share our financial gifts with other organizations that are in line with our values. Each month, we share a portion of the non-designated pledge funds that we collect on Sundays to one such organization. And this month, our shared offering partner is the Survivor Resource Center, which is the sole agency dedicated to serving the needs of survivors of sexual violence in Vermilion, Edgar, and Clark counties. Their work literally saves lives, and we are honored to partner with them. So for all the ways that you support this congregation and our community, we offer thanks. And our greeters will soon collect the offering. While they do so, if you do have a written joy or sorrow that you would like to share, please pass that on up to me, or again, email it to Joys and Sorrows, and we will get to that right after our song. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
Don't be upset or mad at all. Don't feel regret or sad at all. Hey, I'm still a part of the family, Madrigal. I'm fine, I am totally fine. I will stand on the side as you shine. I'm not fine, I can't move the mountains. I can't make the flowers bloom. I can't take another night up in my room waiting on a miracle. I can't heal what's broken. Can't control the morning rain or a hurricane. Can't keep down the unspoken, invisible pain. Always waiting on a miracle, a miracle. Always walking alone. Always wanting for more. Like I'm still at that door, longing to shine. Like all of you shine. All I need is a change. All I need is a chance. All I know is I can't stay on the side. Open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes. I would move the mountains, make new trees and flowers grow. Someone please just let me know, where do I go? I am waiting on a miracle, a miracle. I would heal what's broken, show this family something new. Who I am inside, so what can I do? I'm sick of waiting on a miracle, so here I go. I am ready, come on, I'm ready. I've been patient and steadfast and steady. Bless me now as you blessed us all those years ago when you gave us a miracle. Am I too late for a miracle?
Thank you, Amar and Juan. And thank you all for your generosity. And thank you for the spiritual generosity of making space for our joys and sorrows with each other. So I would like to share some of what has been shared with us aloud. Gail Cohen's son and Karen Heath's brother David lost his battle with ASL this week. And Gail sent that to us as well in our online forum. Gail wants to add that she thanks everyone, including Reverend Sally, for all of the support during that time. Amy Grayson Meyer is at Mayo Clinic awaiting a transplant surgery on Tuesday. And this is from Katie Madigan. My heart is broken for the citizens, families, and friends of Lewiston, Maine, as they were the victims of the 565th mass shooting in the United States in 2023. Katie adds, while mass shootings make headlines, 110 people are killed by gun violence every day, often black and brown, and these don't make the headlines. Let's keep all of these victims and survivors of gun violence in our hearts. Some joys to lift up. This is from Allison Bell. Our foster son spent his first overnight at his adoptive home last night, and we are thrilled to share that it went very well. And from Elizabeth Larson, this week I caught my 16th and 17th baby for my midwifery program. I need to catch 35 by May. Oh, you all. Babies just keep coming. And this is from one of our young people, Theo. And Theo says, my friend Milo's sister turns 4 today. Her name is Frankie. Happy birthday. May we be blessed and comforted each time that we share. And so, as one final blessing for the joys and sorrows we have spoken aloud, for all the ones that we carry on our hearts, we will sing through just one more time, May the longtime sun.
And the pure, pure light that's within you, guide your way.
I have a reading for us this morning. This is a poem by Chelan Harkin, and it is titled Ancestral Treasure. Your ancestors have passed their wounds like a growing collection of gems for your inheritance. Don't resent this. They weren't ready to be mined and collected. They weren't ready to be valued. You have the technology now. You know how to dig deep. You know how not to fear your worth. You know that within every bright, shining wound is a nugget of compassion, a jewel of wisdom. They have saved up for you. Now, feel deeply blessed to be driven finally into those inner tunnels of self and history. Cashing in on this trove in the sacred chest of your heart will alchemize all old, shameful stories into diamonds of laughter and tears. Cashing in this trove will transform the heavy bag of sorrows your ancestors carried into tokens of precious, precious light.
Dos oruguitas enamoradas pasan sus noches y madrugadas llenas de hambre, siguen andando y navegando un mundo que sigue cambiando y navegando un mundo que cambia y sigue cambiando.
Ay, oruguitas, don't you hold on too tight. Both of you know it's your time to grow, to fall apart, to reunite. Wonders await you just on the other side. Trust they'll be there. Start to prepare. Wait for tomorrow.
Dos oruguitas desorientadas en dos capullos bien abrigadas con sueños nuevos. Ya solo falta hacer lo necesario en un mundo que sigue cambiando, tumbando sus paredes.
Ay, mariposas, don't you hold on too tight. Both of you know it's your time to go, to fly apart, to reunite. Wonders surround you. Just let the walls come down. Don't look behind you. Fly till you find your way to tomorrow.
How many folks in this room have seen the Disney movie Encanto? Oh, that's a lot of hands. It is not all the hands. So sorry, hands that didn't go up. There will be spoilers. This is how it goes. So for those who don't know, and for those who maybe need a reminder, Encanto was a Disney film that came out in late 2021. I think I saw it in January of 2022, and I don't know if you remember, everybody, what was happening in late 2021. But here's how I remember that time. We had been so hopeful. I had gotten some vaccines. It seemed like the world might be returning to not normal. I don't believe in normal, but a sense of reconnecting. And then new variants happened, and we all were rushing back into our caves. And it felt like, oh shit, we're doing this again. I also was in the middle of seminary and going, what am I doing with my life? So I don't know, again, what you might have been holding, but I have a feeling if, like me during that time, you were both sad and hopeful, the little glimmer of joy that was Encanto, or something like it, might have been what you needed at the time. It is the story of a magical family in Colombia, the Madrigal family, who are on 3 generations of a miraculous magic that is protecting them from all the chaos of the outside world. Alma Madrigal, who is the family's matriarch, as a young woman with her 3 infant babies, fled war with her beloved, and he was killed protecting them, and a miracle happened, and magic flooded into them, and Alma has been the caretaker of that magic ever since. And the way it happens with magic, she passed that magic on to her children, who each got also miraculous gifts, and then their children did as well. And so we open with the 3rd generation, and the narrator of this ensemble cast is the fabulous Mirabel Madrigal, who, for some unknown reason, oh, you all, Mirabel did not get a magical gift. She, like me and you, is just ordinary, maybe unspecial, but she loves her family and is so happy to be, like them, a caretaker of her community. And in a trend in Disney storytelling over the past decade or so, there's not actually a villain in Encanto. There is no evil queen or dragon to go out and slay and defeat. No, instead, there is a mystery to be solved, because Mirabel realizes there is something going on with the magic. It seems there might be some cracks in it. What is going on, and who can fix it? Mirabel decides that she is going to. And many people wrote reviews of this movie, made some memes about it, and said, oh, they noted the Disney trend of no villains and the ensemble cast, the fabulous music, of course. And then some people very funnily and snarkily said that this movie, like so many recent movies, if you've seen Red or Moana or Coco, is really a millennial, this is a quote here, folks, a millennial and Gen X fantasy of getting an apology from our elders. They're not entirely wrong. But there's no evil to defeat, because this film seems to be saying there is only our own selves that we have to face and accept in order to heal and make a different world. And that's the power of storytelling. It's why I love stories and believe we all are actually stories. And whether those stories are 4,000-year-old miracle stories that have been encoded into sacred texts, or they are a movie that came out less than 3 years ago, the power of stories is that they can hold up mirrors and show us who we have been, who we are, and maybe give us a little bit of a promise of who we might become. And so when I watched Encanto for the first time, I cried. And like many ministers I know, I went, that'll preach, there's a sermon. And I went and bought the soundtrack immediately and started thinking about what some of those sermons and stories were saying to me. And what I found, the many sermons, were three particular stories that I think hold lessons for us as Unitarian Universalists, as people of faith, as people who are grieving. One is how we have to counteract our cultural and familial practices of silencing and shaming and disappearing conflict while dumping our fears onto scapegoats. That is something that is a long-held practice in American culture, perhaps in your family. A second is that we have to fight how much perfectionism is embedded into ourselves and our expectations of others. And finally, we have to resist the demands of productivity and strength and powering through, no matter how we might be feeling in our bodies. White supremacy and capitalism and imperialism say how we are together, how we feel in our bodies doesn't matter, and that is a lie. But it is a lie we have internalized, and we keep teaching it to our children and our children's children, and we have to figure out how to stop it. And the film, in its lovely tenderness and joy and songs and mystery, shows us a little bit of how to do that. And that first lesson of what do we do when someone is speaking too much truth, when they might be too different, when they might embody something that makes the rest of us uncomfortable, and so we want to disappear them and silence them. That lesson we see in Bruno. Bruno, who is Mirabelle's uncle. Bruno, by the way, who had one of the most popular songs in the summer of 2022. And if you have a child, there's no way you escaped singing. We don't talk about Bruno, but we do need to talk about Bruno. Because what happens when we embed silence and secrecy and shame in our families and in our institutions is two kind of separate things. One is people who are actually causing harm, and we choose to be silent about it. We let that harm go on and on and on. But the flip side of that coin is that there are people who are too different, and we don't like them, because they hold up a truth to us too much. And you see, beloveds, what Bruno's magical power is truth-telling. He can prophesy. And we don't like prophets. We don't like people who tell us uncomfortable truths. And so everybody around Bruno, including his family, said, "You're making us uncomfortable. You need to tell us something nice. And if you can't do that, you need to go away." And Bruno disappeared because he thought it would make everybody's life easier. And there are laws being passed right now all over America that say we need to disappear people. There are laws being passed right now that say our queer and trans beloveds have no right to exist. Those are the kinds of laws that we internalize and we harm each other. And then we go on like nothing happened, and we sing, we don't talk about Bruno. But Mirabelle wants to solve the mystery of what is wrong with us. And she goes hunting, and she finds Bruno, and she breaks that silence and says, "Oh, we just misunderstood. We made him the scapegoat for our wrongs. And we don't have to do that. We can bring him back in to community." And maybe with that connection, the magic starts to heal, but that's only one of the harms this family is holding. Another is this idea, when we hold up that we have to be silent, there is an idea of that we also must be perfect. And we see that in one of Mirabelle's sisters, Isabel. Do you all remember her in the movie? Isabel, you all, is beautiful and graceful, and there is not a hair out of place, and she brings sunshine and literal flowers everywhere she goes. Isabel is the mask of perfection that her family gets to wear to hide all their hurts. And she has internalized that role to such an extent that she herself has no idea what she wants or who she is. But she knows she doesn't like her sister Mirabelle very much, and Mirabelle doesn't like her, because Mirabelle is not perfect. Mirabelle is not special. Mirabelle, as I said, is ordinary. But what Mirabel doesn't realize until she tries to break through that wall with Isabel is that Isabel is wearing a mask. A mask that her family and her culture has told her to put on. Be perfect. Don't get anything wrong. Always look nice. Say the right thing. And when they finally break through that little mask of perfection, what happens is that instead of flowers, Isabel produces a sharp, prickly, unperfect, unpleasant cactus. And the miracle of that, of something real and true and authentic, has her saying, what could I do if I knew I didn't have to be perfect and I could just be? What could any of us do, individually and collectively, if we weren't striving for perfection, if we took off our masks, if we took off who we thought we were supposed to be, put aside all of the fake smiles and showed up as our real, whole, authentic, prickly selves? What could we do? What might we change if we let our righteous anger at the world's injustice guide us more? If we stop trying to be nice all the time? I'm so tired as a white American woman being told to just be nice. Nice kills people. It kills us in our own hearts. And it is such a countercultural thing in America to let go of shame, to let go of silence, and to show up real and whole. And we need to do it if we want to make a different world. We need to do it if we want to connect. If we, as Unitarian Universalists, want to build beloved community. But oh my loves, the other way we have to do it is we have to let go of all the doing that we lift up as a holy religion in America. And I'm not saying that there's not shit that needs to get done. I am feeling the weight of that, the weight of needing to call my Congress people, the weight of needing to write another letter, the weight of what needs to be done. But we are not superhuman robots. We are people, and we need to rest sometimes. Mirabel's other sister, Luisa, is superhuman, you all. She can literally lift mountains and move buildings. She shoulders all the burdens that her community cannot and will not carry. She does whatever is demanded of her. She keeps going no matter how she might be feeling, no matter how tired she might be, no matter how worried. She keeps doing and doing and doing. And in my favorite song in the movie, which is Surface Pressure, she talks about how under the surface, she feels like she's drowning. Under the surface, she's being crushed by the weight of all of those expectations, of all the stuff that she has to do, and she is being destroyed by the fear that she is not enough. And in the saddest line of the movie for me, she says, "Am I worthless if I'm not of service? Am I worthless if I'm not of service?" And I don't know how many of you have ever felt that way, but I will confess to you that for the first 35 or 40 years of my life, I thought I had to earn love. I thought I had to earn a place, and that the only way I could do that was to hide and be silent about my reality and how I really felt, show up with a perfect mask, and just do more. How many of you have lived moments of your life that way? How many of you have shown up to a meeting here at this church or out in the community or in your jobs or just shown up at a family dinner and been made to feel ashamed because you didn't do enough, because it wasn't good enough? And maybe nobody told you that explicitly, but you felt it. And so you did more and more. We hurt each other over and over again with our unhealed wounds. Yes, beloveds, our ancestors committed atrocities. Our ancestors suffered from violence. Our ancestors were carrying trauma so heavy that all they could do was make it a stone and pass it on to us and say, "You carry it now." And they didn't always do that because they didn't love us. They did it because they didn't know another way. But we can now know another way. We do not have to take those stones and those wounds and keep making them deeper. We can start to heal them. And it won't be comfortable and it won't be easy. And we see that in the movie, because when Mirabelle, who has broken through the silence with her uncle, who has made authentic connections with both of her sisters, who's seen through their masks of perfection and productivity, she finally thinks she has the answer to what's wrong with the magic, and she goes to her grandmother, and her grandmother says, "You are the problem, Mirabelle. You." And she looks at her grandmother. She looks at her, this woman she loves, who she wants so badly to make proud of her. And she speaks her truth and says, "No, abuela, you are. You are the problem. Because we will never be enough for you. Nothing we do will ever be enough." And with that bit of truth, everything crumbles. The magic that was built on shaky ground, the magic that was built on trauma that never went addressed and never went resolved, crumbles. The literal house they have lived in falls to ruins. And Alma Madrigal, who has been carrying so much trauma in her body, she survived war and death and heartache. And she took that trauma and built a wall higher and higher and higher. And she didn't know it, but she was hurting people with her own trauma. And it took someone being brave enough to look at the person who had power and speak truth to them, because that is the other thing we have to do, beloveds. We not only have to speak truth to power, but when we are the ones in power, when we are the Alma Madrigals standing and someone holds up a mirror to us, we cannot flinch away from it. We cannot say, "No, I didn't mean to." We cannot say, "No, that isn't right." We have to hear the truth of the harm that we have done and be accountable for it. And we have to let the systems that are replicating that harm crumble. And if we can be brave enough to do that, if we can find ways to do that in authentic connection, holding on to the hurts and knowing that healing is desperately needed, we can start to rebuild. But we cannot do it the way we have always done it. We cannot do it by saying, "Work harder, do more." We cannot do it by saying some people matter and some don't. We cannot do it by digging into that lie of individuality. We have to do it by coming together in community. We have to do it by looking at each other in our tender, vulnerable human faces and saying what Alma finally says to her children and grandchildren: "The miracle was never the magic. The miracle is you. You are the miracles, beloved, because you are enough for this moment just as you are." And we have to show up for each other and make that true over and over again. You are enough. You are the miracle. And we widen our circles by being in community in that way, because what the film shows us is that it's not just about that family. Because see, once all the magic crumbles, once truth-telling has cleared a path to authentic community, that village that grew up around them shows up and says, "We don't have magic like you did, but we have our hands and we have our love for you. And so we have to show up for each other in love when it's hard, when it's messy, when we're angry. I don't really know how to do that. But I know that this being here with you in this community, making space for joys and sorrows, making space for our grief, making beautiful music together, sharing our stories together, this is one way that we remake the world. And sometimes on weeks like this, it does not feel like enough. But we are enough, beloveds. And that is what I want for each and every one of you in this room listening to me online, is to believe you are enough and to show up here and make that true for everyone else. May it be so. And amen.
Building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Beat and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Hazes of this the sea. We can feed every need.
Beloveds, as we leave this sacred place today, may you hold close to your heart the firm belief that you are enough, that we are the magic and miracle that this world needs. May you carry your stones and your wounds with tenderness until you can heal them. May you carry your joys with abundant love. May you go in love. We'll extinguish our chalice. Oh, I've lost my place. But we will extinguish our chalice with our regular words, which are found in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We'll sing one final verse as we go out together today.
Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these words we'll die. Peace and freedom is our cry. You are enough.